Good evening. My name is Melissa Jacobs. This is Mainline Tonight.
Yo,
Justin, how are you?
what's going on?
It's so good to have you on the show. My name is Melissa Jacobs. This is Mainline Tonight. Tonight, my guest is Justin Tyner, a stained glass artist who I've almost been a little bit stalking on Instagram for a while now. I am a huge fan of your work. Let me tell everybody all of the amazing things you do. So, Justin Tyner, you are resident artist at Halcyon Floats, correct?
Halcyon, yep.
Halcyon, I'm mispronouncing it. You've had a ton of stained glass exhibitions. The one I saw was at Philadelphia Magic Gardens that was called Light as Memory, right?
That's right.
You've exhibited at the National Liberty Museum, Rhinecliff Gallery at Drexel University, the Philadelphia Airport, the Philadelphia Rail Park. You're a graduate of the Art Institute of Philadelphia, and you were the subject of a French documentary called Streetosphere. And that is for some of the street art that you do that we're going to talk about in a little bit. First, I want to know, you have a wife and son. Please tell me how everybody's doing in your house. Is everybody healthy?
Oh yeah. We're keeping it together for sure. Everyone's healthy. I have a 14-year-old, so he is off from school. Well, I mean, he's doing like virtual learning, but he's enjoying himself.
Yeah. Your son's name is Hendrix, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So how's that parenting and teaching going for you?
It's okay. I mean, he's like pretty self-sufficient at this point, so.
Okay. And you live in South Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, that's right. We just actually.
Okay, so what's going on in your neighborhood?
We just actually moved right before COVID kind of hit, in like the end of February. We moved into our new spot here, like on 13th Street in South Philly, and it's quiet for sure. Yeah, there's not so many people like running around, but there's stragglers out there jogging up and down the street, walking their dogs, but it's
wow. Okay, so I want to talk about, first of all, tell people your website where they can find your work is Justin Tyner, Tyner .squarespace.com, and they should follow you on Instagram and become obsessed with you like I am. You also have books that are available that would be great Mother's Day presents. You have two books, right? One is I Can See Through You, and the other one is Psychedelic Rose Window Kaleidoscope. And they are, there you go. Yeah.
So, yeah, there were two projects that I worked on, and what I like to do after I finish a project is surmise it and wrap it up with a book. And I'm a little behind, but I have the Magic Gardens show, the exhibition I had last summer, working on like composing that book as we speak. But these books are great, and I enjoy.
And they are relatively inexpensive. They're $25 to $40, right? So people can order them through your website and get them delivered, and they're amazing books for anybody who loves stained glass art. It's amazing. I want to start from the beginning though, because even though I love stained glass, I don't know a lot about it. So I want to start with the craftsmanship and sort of the mechanics of what you do. So I know that you use a lot of reclaimed and sort of salvaged materials. Can you walk me through how you create your art?
Sure. So stained glass is like very traditional, right? The methods haven't changed in centuries, right? So I do exactly those methods. I use an old glass cutter to cut the glass. I use lead and copper foil for the materials to build it, and beautiful glass, which I restore stained glass windows as a day job. So I've been into like countless churches that have been closed down for various reasons. But I get a lot of my reclaimed stained glass from those old churches in the restoration process. Some of the glass is unusable in the newer windows. So I take as much of it as I can. It's scraps. Usually it's like broken into bits and pieces, but that suits my style fairly well. So that's one aspect of it, right? And so the other aspect is reclaiming old bottle glass. So I use a lot of reclaimed and recycled glass. I find walking around South Philly or in Philadelphia in general, there's broken glass pretty much.
No.
So I take advantage of that. I pick it up and put it in my book bag, and I have boxes and boxes of it. And that's kind of what I use, a combination of the old stained glass, church glass, and then this recycled bottle glass, and combine them in various ways. And, I'm trying to break out of one style and get into this other style of
so let's talk about that. So so let me reintroduce you. You're Justin Tyner, stained glass artist. My name is Melissa Jacobs. This is Mainline Tonight. Tell me about how you first got involved in stained glass, because it's a little bit of a niche thing. How did you start in that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia to be a graphic designer and illustrator. And I did that for a little bit. I used to design posters for the Electric Factory. And that was
cool.
a great gig. Like, I got to go to a lot of concerts and meet some bands and stuff. But they basically paid me in concert tickets. So that didn't really sustain my finance needs. So I looked for a different job, and I was lucky enough to find a studio where I learned pretty much everything at Bayer Studio in Germantown, Philadelphia. And they are a family-owned company. They've been around. The owners have been around for quite a while, and we're pretty reputable all over the country at this point. So I learned.
But what was it about stained glass? Like, did you wake up one day and say, "Oh, you know what, I'm going to try"? Like, did you dabble in it at first? What attracted you to it? I
had zero experience when I first started that job. And luckily, I was, good with my hands, and I had a good eye visually for art. And I just kind of fit into the studio, and I took a hold of it pretty easily. Like, I started cutting glass and building my own windows pretty early on in my career. But really, I learned everything on the job experience. And
was it like an apprenticeship, would you say, that you had?
It started off as an apprenticeship, and I mean, it's 2020. It was in 2001, so I'm going on 20 years. Glass artist. So I really learned everything there, and over 20 years, I've developed my own style. I fit into.
Well, let's talk about the history of stained glass and the different styles, because it's actually ancient, right? I mean, it goes back. Yeah. So give us a little bit of the history of stained glass and the different styles of it.
Well, I mean, it was traditionally built into cathedrals to make the worshipers have an interaction with their religion of God, and to see the light shining through would kind of enlighten their philosophy or their souls or what have you. So that when you ask what appealed to me of stained glass, that dynamic of light shining through and affecting the person looking at it, really I was drawn to that. And I've kept that close to me in every project I've done, just knowing that, like, even into the street art, like bringing stained glass out into the public of street art, that is something that evolved in my.
But how did you develop your own style? Because there are a lot of different styles of stained glass, right? So how did you evolve your style?
Well, okay, so I'm fairly, if anyone knows me, I'm a pretty psychedelic person, right? So, like, I'm into build my own kaleidoscopes, right? So, like, we do this sort of thing. And so I was trying to like the kaleidoscope window was supposed to be like a real life kaleidoscope that you could like interact with, and it was 4 foot long kaleidoscope that you could stick your whole head inside and get this like trick effect. So that is my like real style and what I'm trying to achieve in stained glass. Like,
yeah, you call yourself a psychedelic stained glass artist, right?
yeah, so there's like dynamics to psychedelic art itself. It affects you inside. So like the light shining through, if you can see behind me, I built this like thing that I've been projecting onto people. That's my latest project, is the stained glass.
Yes. Well, so wait, so let me break that down a little bit. So explain what psychedelic art is, and then I want you to explain what street art, what it means to you. So let's start with psychedelic art. What does psychedelic art mean to you?
Psychedelic art is just something that like messes with your head a little bit. It like makes you think. It delves into like consciousness and the collective unconscious of people, right? Much like a religion will do. So that's kind of where my head is at, I guess, is trying to get people vibed out on psychedelic art itself. So the street art aspect came when those French documentary filmmakers were looking. They filmed all over Europe, and they decided to come to the States. They filmed in New York, Chicago, D.C., and when they came to Philly, they just kind of hit me up out of the blue. I had a landline at that point. They called me on my phone at my house and said, hey, do you want to be in this project of street artists? And I told them, I'm like, I've never done street art. So, like, why?
Oh, you had never done street art at that point?
The first time it was like on camera being filmed, and then it got released all over Europe. And it kind of, in fact, I still get, like, when they show that episode, I still get emails from people like, you know,
yeah.
But that was like right in South Philly, right by Pat's and Gino's. And I basically like never stopped from there. Like I just do like 1 or 2 a year. I don't try to like.
So let's explain. So let me reintroduce you. You're Justin Tyner. You are a psychedelic stained glass artist. Let's drill down a little bit on street art, because not everybody knows what that is. So explain what you do with your pieces and where you place them and how you go about doing that.
So, yeah, I'm just putting my own art out into the public space, right? I don't take, I don't have a problem with people like messing with
So
them.
it's literally, you will create a piece, right? And you will leave it somewhere sometimes.
Yeah, it's
all. And people can see it, or they can take it, or they can do whatever they want with it. Street art is like free art that's put on the street, whether it's a mural or some other kind of art that's created. In your case, you create these stained glass pieces. A lot of them are like the size, you could hold them in your hands, right? Like that size.
Yeah, they're
and you leave them on fences. You leave them in all different places around the city. And then you take pictures of them, and you often put them on Instagram and say, I just left this at such and such a place. And it's a way, I mean, my thinking of it is that it's a way for you to give your art to whoever finds it and whoever needs it. Is that kind of what your philosophy is?
Right. It's like kind of like giving them the chance to see what I see, basically. Like I make these pieces, they're made out of glass that I find in the streets themselves, and I put them up for the public to see. And now street art itself is like ephemeral, so it's temporary. It interacts with the public. It doesn't really stay too long. Like some of them have longevity, but most of them, here and there, people will take them or break them or write graffiti on them, which I'm into. Like I kind of like the giving it up to the street, and then it happens. People like have their own interactions with it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do, and like I said, like I photograph them. Once they're photographed, like I can take ownership of them, and I have like a nice collection at this point of all the projects I've done out into the street.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll pick up, people will see them and repost them, and
yeah. You do also sell your pieces. We should be clear.
Yeah. Like I said, that's kind of why I put a lot of them out there. Like I do one or two Yeah, and I try to talk.
Yeah, but it's like the soul of art. I mean, it's my, I'm a writer, so if I stood on a street corner and just spoke poetry, I can't write poetry, but let's just say I could. That would be that would be my way of giving back. That's the soul of an artist, I think. But speaking of which, I want to talk a little bit about your exhibit, the work that you did at Philadelphia Magic Gardens last year, because that was a big I think that was a big moment in your career. That's Isaiah Zagar is, the god of that sort of thing in Philadelphia. If anybody doesn't know what the Magic Garden is, why don't you give a little bit of explanation about that and then tell us about the exhibit that you did for that?
Sure. Yeah. So the Philly Magic Gardens is the life's work of Isaiah Zagar, and it's a visionary art collective or museum at this point. And they specialize in out of the ordinary, self-taught, outsider artists, and I was just fortunate enough to be invited to exhibit there.
So it's on South Street, right? It's like what, 9th and South?
It's on 9th,
I think. 9th and South, and it's a garden of glass art, I would say. And so you pay, it's like $10 or something to go in there. You walk through this little courtyard sort of a thing, and there are all these different shards of glass and colors and different materials, and it is a magic glass garden. So talk about the work that it was, Light as Memory was one of the types. So tell us about that.
Right. So the full title is Light as Memory, Recollections Through Stained Glass. So that had a double meaning, where the light itself is like a memory from the sun, and the pieces that I used or exhibited there were all reclaimed from churches and this recycled glass. So there was a memory connection to those pieces, which tied into the title there. Now, I had basically three aspects to that show: the street art exhibition, or the street art collective that I would put up. That I made pieces that were traditional stained glass windows, basically. And then the third part was the sculptural aspect of the work, which you can see behind me. And I was projecting. I had a cool psychedelic projection room. And that was like a really neat.
It was really neat. So explain some of the photography you've been doing lately, which is projecting. Let's see if I can use words to explain it. It's such a visual thing. And if people want to see, your work, the best way is to follow him on Instagram and go to his website, justintyner.squarespace.com. It's hard to explain in words what it is that you do, but all the pieces are there and on your Instagram page. But what you've been doing lately is sort of putting your pieces, your stained glass up, and then photographing the colors they make on people's skin. So it's like a portrait of somebody with the stained glass colors on them. Right?
They're basically like enveloped in the light, which is like
enveloped in the light.
And that light like affects you. Like when you're behind as a subject so far, and the light is blasting on you, it really like puts a smile on your face. So far, everyone that's participated has enjoyed it. But
who are those people that you're photographing?
I put it out there, like I'll photograph you, like I'll photograph everybody. Yeah, I've invited creative people to photographers. I have a different photographer every time I shoot, so the styles are always different.
Wow.
Basically, anyone that's interested will set up a photo shoot. I've done it in multiple spaces. I like to get different environments, I guess, and then effect with the stained glass. And I also, these kaleidoscopes are really neat to shoot in.
All right, I'm down. As soon as the COVID restrictions are lifted, I will come down to South Philly and I would be honored to be in one of those photographs. I don't know what you do about my hair, but
the more hair, the better. That's what I say.
There you go. All right, I want to do two things. I want to read something that you have that I assume that you wrote that's on your website. People should go, again, to justintyner.squarespace.com. And so in my stalking of you, I go to your website every so often to see what you're doing. And I saw what you wrote about stained glass. This is what you wrote. Stained glass is vibrations, the light from atoms and stars, a basic language, the stuff of communication. You can touch stained glass, and the fingers receive communication. The color shines into your eyes and penetrates the skin. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Like
so I want to talk about the. Sorry?
I said that really sums up like my whole artistic point of view right there. It's like that's the multi-dimensional aspect of stained glass that I was able to write at one point.
I mean, you're a great writer. It's so poetic. I want to ask you about the residency that you did in France. That was also last year, right?
Correct. That was simultaneous with the show I did at the Magic Garden. So
you were in like some good karmic calendar or something.
I was really vibing.
It was a big year for you, yeah. All right, so tell us about. It's called Chateau. I'm going to mispronounce it. Tell us what it's called and how you got accepted.
Chateau Orquevaux.
Orquevaux.
Yeah. So I applied. It's this beautiful artist residency in the Champagne region of France. So I applied just like any other artist would apply to some of these residencies. And I was fortunate enough to be accepted there. And they had 2 different shifts of artists. So from September 1st through the 15th was a group of artists. And then from the 15th to the end of the month, another group of artists showed up. But some of us were there for the whole month. And I was one of those. And that's where the stained glass photography project was born there. Mm-hmm. I had some French friends that I met and photographed them in the light, and that was like the impetus of the idea for this next project that I've been working on. But wow. There they had beautiful grounds. There was a lake. There was filled with trout. I trout fished every day. I came to my studio. I had my own studio and my own private bedroom. And basically, I would go fishing in the morning, work all day, and then they had a chef prepare your meals for you every day. And it was just heaven there. It was really great. So what did you produce? I mean, the idea is to provide like a refuge for artists, right? So the photography you started there, did you do any other work while you were there? I did, yeah. I made my stained glass heart there, which I just posted on Instagram tonight, actually. I love it. I love it so much. That's my most recent post. I was able to make some sculptural parts of stained glass. Now, I brought a suitcase full of broken glass with me on the plane. I carried it on the plane. And I left with pieces of produced artwork, basically. And I left a piece there. A stipulation of the residency was that you left a piece of art that you made there, and you left it for their private collection, which they're going to have a museum of sorts from everyone that participated in the residency. And it's been 2 years now. I think it's fairly recent. But so I left a window of the actual chateau. I built it out of stained glass, and if you into my Instagram, you could see that. Yeah, I remember when you posted it. It's just beautiful. And you were also posting other photos of like cathedrals and other stained glass that you were seeing in France. So, what sort of different aesthetic did you see stained glass wise in France? I mean, is it any different than it is here? Well, I mean, the stained glass, the oldest stained glass that you see here in Philadelphia came by boat from Germany, from some of the German studios. Oh. And so all the techniques are all the same, except in France they have different colors of glass that they're known for. In French glass are rich in blues and reds in the background. But I was able to travel. One of my most cherished memories of that whole experience was visiting the town where Joan of Arc was born. and going into visiting her church where there's a wall that still stands where she was able to pray there, and all the windows are of Joan of Arc, and that was like really special to me. And so that I took that as inspiration. For this photography project, I had some models pose as Joan of Arc, and that was really, really special to me.
Wow, it sounds like an amazing time to spend in an amazing place with your art and being creative. So I am a little jealous, I'm not going to lie. Okay, they accept writers. I looked it up. They accept writers. Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
You put in a good word for me?
For sure.
Okay, so Justin Tyner, you said that you would, so we try to have a little bit of levity on the show. Did I ask you to name heroes of the day, or did I forget to do that?
Not yet. You asked me about my family earlier.
Right. Okay, so on Mainline tonight, we like to just recognize the world that we're living in right now. And we ask our guests to recognize a hero of the day, and that is a person, organization, business that is going above and beyond in doing COVID relief work. So, Justin Tyner, who would you like to recognize as your hero of the day?
So, my hero of the day is my hero every day, and that's my wife. She is an essential worker. She works at Whole Foods in Philly, and she's been going to work and supporting our family this whole time. And I just want to give her the credit she deserves. She's definitely one of my heroes at this point. And she puts her time in. She's part of the...
Yeah, which Whole Foods does she work at?
She's on South Street, but she travels all over. You know, she's big time over there, so I like to give her props.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so the other thing we do is we ask, since everybody's at home, we ask some people to show us their closet or their studio. So if you could take your phone and show us around your studio a little bit, a little studio tour with Justin Tyner, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so I'm in my studio right now. I'm sitting at my desk here. So let's see. I have some stained glass hanging, right?
Wow.
You can move the light around and get bigger.
Wow.
So this way you would stand, Melissa, right?
Yes.
And then we'll film you. There's some of my, that's from the Magic Gardens. Here's some street art that I haven't put up, right?
Yep. Yep.
Sculptures. So this is kind of where I put my, here's a piece all lit up.
Nice.
Here's my workspace here. I play the drums too.
Oh, cool. Wow.
That's champagne sparkle for all you drummers out there. Here's a piece of sculpture that I have.
Oh, that's what I like. Wait, did you see the Instagram post I did today? It had it was like an Instagram GIF or something with the peace sign, because I love that. Can we see that again?
Yeah, of course.
I love that. So that is Justin Tyner's stained glass. Does it have a name, that peace sign?
The name of it? You know, I can't remember the name. I have something like really poetic about it, but
it's gorgeous.
So here is like my main workspace. I have something cooking on here. There's some older pieces. There's some street art that I've done.
Yeah. Oh, so that's a really good example. So those are the fences, right? So you will go to some rando fence and like insert these pieces of stained glass, right, and then photograph them and tell people this is what. Yeah, that's amazing. And you just leave it there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. So give us some examples of like, where have you left those things?
So, okay. So I like to put things into, in my neighborhood where I live in South Philly. And so the Italian market is one area where a lot of traffic gets through there. So I'll like put stuff there. The rail park into that space a lot. So I was putting stuff up there for a minute. And basically, I'm looking for places where the light shines through it, right? So if you see there, the light is blasting that fence, and that was that's like off of South Street. This was also in the Italian market, and that got really great light. Some of that is still there. It's been a while, but it's still hanging up. And I film it every season, like through like the fall, like some leaves show up, and in the winter there's snow on the ground behind it. So there's the kaleidoscope window there.
Amazing.
And here is some of the
the
poetry window.
Wow. Feminine male energy. Wow.
Yeah, so
amazing.
This is all scraps of old inscriptions of stained glass. And some of these pieces are hundreds of years old, right?
Wow.
There's the magic.
Love it.
Humankind.
Wow.
And I feel like this piece like sums up a lot of my philosophy of art. Like, I think you need like all this inspiration, and I was able to collect all these pieces and separately and spell every word that I wanted to there. Here's an old painting of mine I did there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a piece I did in France.
Wow.
This is my studio. I have a nice couch now.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Very nice. So let me say again, people should follow you on Instagram, and they should go to justintyner.squarespace.com to buy your work, to buy your books. You have 2 books, Psychedelic, Rose, Window, Kaleidoscope, and I Can See Through You. Those are books, collections of Justin's art. And it's been such a pleasure to speak with you. I will continue to stalk you on Instagram. My name is Melissa Jacobs. This is Mainline Tonight. I hope that everybody will come back and join us again. Justin, thank you so much. I will come down to South Philly and see you as soon as we're able. Thank you and have a good night.
This was really fun. Thanks, Melissa.
Take care. Bye-bye.